Hello, I'm Alberto Giordonelli, Chief Business Development Officer at Victory Productions, and I'm delighted to share with you some interesting work we did for Gale Cengage a couple of years ago. This is actually our response to a very specific need they had at the time. This was shortly after the Gulf, the terrible disaster with the explosion of the Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf, and they wanted to have a resource available that would allow them to explore this in a classroom and to have interesting in-depth discussions with students that provided a multidimensional experience of exploring and analyzing complex events over time and getting interesting perspectives and generating a lot of critical thinking exercises. This is particularly relevant in this age of project-based learning and emphasis on critical thinking like we're seeing through the Common Core. So this was a really interesting exercise for us. And it also involved a lot of primary sources of getting, putting many sources of information together in a single place so that they could be explored, compared, and contrasted. So what we did is we created an interactive timeline, but there are a lot of elements to this. On one hand, you can see the events here over time, starting with the actual explosion of the Deepwater Horizon right here. And you can see some video related to the event. And we can get extra information here, including a lot of links related to the disaster. You can go from item to item, from event to event, just by clicking on the forward arrows. And you can hear interviews, see animations, slideshows showing different aspects of this disaster. So you get a lot of real rich media related to the event and a lot of additional information and additional links. So that was one dimension of it, and we thought that was important and useful, but we started thinking about other ways of illustrating this content. How could we get students to really understand the complex relationships of events over time? So one of the things that we added to this was a spill map. And this provided not just the relationship of events over time, but now we have the relationships of events in space. In this case, we can see how the oil spill, the shape of the oil spill changed as time went by, and currents, surface temperatures. There was a hurricane at some point in time. So this gives a real nice counterpoint to the events that were happening. So whenever you're in an event, like for instance in this case, looking at the worker claims rig leaking weeks before explosion, when this was happening, what did the spill look like? And you can go right back to this and again keep going through here, Hurricane Alex tore its recovery efforts, and you can see that already the oil spill was quite large. So this was an interesting effort. It was complex to put this together because there were a lot of contradictory sources of information. So putting together a map that would be truly accurate and discussion free, if you will, was a bit of a challenge, but we pulled it together. So now we had two dimensions of data. We had the events over time and then the events in space. So we wanted to go even further. So the next level that we added to this was we started to look at the different variables that were changing as this was happening. So we actually created a series of data feeds. In this case, you can see some of them here. We have the number of cleanup and response personnel, or the boom available for cleanup, or perhaps more interesting, the effect this was having on mammals, sea turtles, and birds. So you can see that we have several different dimensions through which we can analyze the same events over time. So this provides another interesting dimension to this exercise, and we can actually hover our mouse over these graphs and see what was happening. And now that we have the events over time here, as we scroll them, we see the variables here changing or shifting over time. And we can of course zoom in or zoom out to see more or less detail, and we get instant response from the graph so that we can really see what was happening over time and related to the events here. So now we had the events over time, events in space, the detailed information, links, multiple variables being graphed in relationship to this. So at this point, we thought it was important to give teachers activities they could do within this environment to really explore what was happening. So in this case, explore the local impact. And here, you start off with a question that can be discussed in the classroom. What could be done to help local fishing and drilling industries that are directly affected? So go and explore this event over here, and then explore this other event over here. And look at this graph. So, just by clicking here, you change the graphs that you're seeing. You jump from one event to the other, and you provide a narrative for the teacher to organize in the classroom, so that he or she can have a meaningful discussion of what's happening and what different and how it was being dealt with, and then a series of links that allow students to go even further. So this is really a beautiful example of what happens when we put together our different skills, the skills of our editorial department, putting together the information that constitutes this, together with our technology team who created this wonderful engine for displaying events over time, together with our art department creating all of these maps and graphs and finding all the resources that were required. So this is one of those projects where we really combine all of our skills in a very effective package, and we'd love to create this kind of environments for your future projects.